Right. I'm unaware of any other, of any, frankly, HR complaints.
This is aging like milk. Oh, I'll tell you what's aging like milk, and it's that quote there from Baldoni's lawyer saying he's not aware of any HR complaints. Much like how Baldoni originally claimed that he had no idea of Blake Lively's grievances. And then his own timeline revealed that there were 4 separate meetings where Blake Lively detailed her issues with Baldoni's behavior. Now, we know that Bryan Freedman's not being truthful here. Not just because we have seen the text messages of Baldoni's own team internally discussing that there were 3 HR complaints, the names of who made them, and details of the incidents they involved. 2 involving the sexy comment and 1 involving an apartment in New York. But also because 2 weeks before Bryan Freedman made this statement, a third-party investigator reached out to Blake Lively's legal team to inform them that they had been hired by Wayfarer to, quote, conduct a neutral third-party investigation of Blake Lively's claims for sexual harassment, retaliation, failure to investigate, prevent and/or remedy harassment, and aiding and abetting harassment. To which Lively's lawyers responded, Wayfarer and its legal counsel have spent the past few months calling Miss Lively a liar, stating that there never was any retaliation and that she has invented her claims of sexual harassment. So it is absolutely ludicrous that Wayfarer have gone to the expense of privately hiring a third-party investigator, acknowledging Blake Lively's sexual harassment complaint almost 2 years after the fact, and yet at the same time continue to give interviews to the press denying that any such sexual harassment complaints exist and insists that she's lying. Not only that, but while Lively's lawyers were seeking a protective order, arguing that certain lawyers in this case have been deliberately leaking information to the press, and concerned in particular about the bullying and harassment facing anyone who offers public support for Blake Lively, someone else leaked the identity of a second cast member who had made complaints to The Hollywood Reporter, the one against Jamie Heath involving an apartment in New York, and coincidentally also leaked Jamie Heath's response to that complaint. I wonder which side could have possibly done that. Meaning that Wayfarer themselves have now corroborated the details of 2 of the 3 HR complaints that they have been actively covering up for almost 2 years. And that's not the only Bryan Freedman quote that's aging like milk. For weeks throughout January, Baldoni's lawyer was saying that he had nothing to hide and that they were going to publish every single text message on a website for the world to see. Or at least that's what he was claiming publicly, because once again, the court filings say something entirely different. Lively's lawyers have asked for non-content phone logs for calls and texts. They're not asking for the content of those messages, just the dates and times they occurred and who with. An entirely reasonable request, as it will reveal the extent of Baldoni's team working with press outlets to plant negative stories about Blake Lively, which again, Baldoni's own timeline admits they did at least once. But despite promising transparency and every single text message, Baldoni's lawyers have refused, arguing that even just providing the logs would problematically reveal whether Baldoni had communicated with 5 mistresses or 5 psychiatrists. Now, I'm not sure how just a phone number would reveal that that person is a mistress. And to be clear, Baldoni's legal team are not saying he does have 5 mistresses. They're just suggesting that this would be a gross invasion of his privacy because it could reveal if he had 5 mistresses. And they want to protect their client's right to privacy to have 5 mistresses, if he wanted to, which he very much doesn't. Reminder, this is a man who has spent the last 7 years platforming himself as being a safe, emotionally intelligent man who values honesty, transparency, and authenticity, modeling it so well that he can teach it to others. A user over on Twitter summed it up perfectly, stating that of course Baldoni objects to being transparent and handing over his call logs. After all, would any man really have nothing to hide in their phones for 4 years? Yeah, most of us, mate. I've been with my wife for 5 years, and she has always had full access to my phone, every text and DM I've ever sent and received. I would have zero problem complying with a subpoena like this. These men literally cannot imagine a world where your own behavior does not incriminate you. Which already tells you everything you need to know. Baldoni's behaviors and actions here do not align with his words. He boasts about transparency while refusing to back it up. He's told 8 million viewers to be confident enough to listen to the women in your life, to hold their anguish and actually believe them, even if what they're saying is against you. But when multiple women spoke up about his behavior, rather than actually believe them or prioritize their safety, he prioritized himself, wanting reassurances they could be buried before they ever went public with their claims. The longer this drags on, the more we continue to see Baldoni's contradictory behavior and how performative his entire persona really is.